All right, welcome back, guys. Today I have Germaine Foley with me, and I'm going to let her introduce what she does.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Mandy, for having me. My name is Germaine Foley. I am a life and money coach, and I help women build wealth without having to give up their lifestyle. My motto is you can do both. You can build wealth and enjoy life. And that is what I do.
And when you say build wealth, in what ways?
Yes. So it's all about, you know, getting out of credit card debt. A lot of us are stuck in a credit card debt cycle, even if we make good money, building up a nice, significant nest egg of liquid savings, investing and earning more. So I'm all about like having your financial house in order, getting those foundations in place so that you can, really have your money making you more money in the future. And then when you start earning more, or, I hope you're earning more all the time, that money isn't just leaving you. It's actually being productive and helping you to just have the life you want to live.
And when you say liquid savings, you mean just like a savings account that you can access anytime you
Yes.
need to.
Yes. A
Okay.
high yield savings account with a lot of money in it.
Yeah, great.
Yes.
And what types of investing do you recommend?
So I'm not a financial advisor, but I totally recommend if someone is working in a career that you take advantage of any offerings, any match offerings like a 401k that is available to you. If you're a business owner, you can invest in SEP IRAs, which is for people who are self-employed. You can use IRAs, Roth IRAs. I love index funds. Those are low-cost funds that you can purchase on your own through like a Fidelity Investments company or just anywhere, right? And those investments are designed to mimic the market, like the S&P 500, the top 500 companies that are publicly traded.
So interesting. How easy is that to set up? Do you just like walk into a bank and do it, or how does that work?
So Fidelity is actually online. You can go right to their website and it's very user friendly. And if you have any trouble, you can call them and they'll literally walk you through it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And you mentioned people, making more money. Are you
Yes.
encouraging your clients to like find new jobs, or are you enabling them, or enabling is not the right word. I'm sorry, empowering them to like ask for more money at the companies they're at? How is that working?
Everybody's different. So typically, I'm working with people who already make good money in their careers or businesses. So I work with coaches, consultant, real estate agents, nurses, doctors. I mean, you name it, professors, even. I even have someone who works for the like high up in the government.
Oh,
So wherever they are, I'm all about if it's a career, let's negotiate, let's make more. And then a lot of my clients, they have passions, right? And they don't know how to monetize them. So some of them end up starting consulting firms. Like one of my clients, she's a professor in engineering, and now she's taken on consulting work, in her spare time to help companies with whatever she specializes in. So it just depends. I have one who is also an engineer and she works with, I think it's in environmental services, and now she's going to be consulting. So just helping people understand that no matter where they are right now with their finances, how much they're making, they can be making so much more. I think we all have potential to make lots of money, even way more than we're making now.
yeah. And what that makes me think though is, they're kind of starting side hustles and things like that. Is there a point where they get overwhelmed because they've got too much to do?
Well, it just depends. Like that's one of the things we coach on. And the goal is not to be overwhelmed. And the goal is not to start a business if they don't want to. These are just
Right.
for people who are interested in doing more. They may be passionate about something and they want to help. And I just help them to see that, there are avenues out there where you can definitely increase your income if that's what you want to do. Like I said, most of my clients make plenty of money to be able to build wealth as is.
Mhm.
And that's just, something that they can do if they want to.
Yeah. And my husband and I both have multiple businesses. And so we still have a life. We still have things that,
Yes,
we can make
I
it
do
happen.
too. I
Yeah.
work full time. I have a full time corporate job that I absolutely love, and I have a coaching business. And
Oh,
I do not feel overwhelmed by it. And I've learned how to compartmentalize things. So when I'm working in my corporate job, I'm working in my corporate job. And when I work with my clients, I have set client hours and nights that I coach. And when I'm with them, I'm fully with them. But you and I know that a lot of the overwhelm we experience just comes from sometimes how we think about the things we have going on in our lives.
exactly. And what Jermaine's referring to there is we were both certified through the same life coach school. And so as I've explained many times to my clients, there's a circumstance, you have a thought about it, you have that creates a feeling, you take or not take certain actions, and then you get the results that you get. When I bring up overwhelm though, because there's also indulgent emotions, and you know very well about that. And
Hmm.
overwhelm was one that I really stayed in for many, many, many years. And what that did is it kept me stuck and kept me from taking opportunities. And so, if any of you are feeling overwhelmed, definitely do the mind work to get over that because you could be leaving a lot of money on the table, for example.
Absolutely. It's interesting you say that because one of my clients who has started consulting, her first thing when I mentioned it to her, because she had already had like consulting in the past, but she's like taking, one at a time, or there are just these big time spans in between, these opportunities. And I asked her, why wasn't she doing more of them, or if she even wanted to? And she was like, well, I don't know if I have time. And so
Mm.
sometimes that is the thought right there. I don't have time. And then when we really got down to it, like she has a full time job, but she doesn't work full time hours.
Yeah.
So she actually does have the time. And when you're a consultant or a coach, you get to make your own hours.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you don't have to be somewhere at a certain time every single day. You get to create your own hours and you get to decide, when you work on those things. So
Well,
I
and
think,
yeah, I'm sorry. And another problem that comes up with people is time scarcity, and just that's kind of coach lingo. But what that means is they are afraid they don't have enough time. And just to like some of my clients don't look at their financial numbers. I was just working with a client right before our call, and we were working on a calendar. And I was having her put down like every single little thing on the calendar so that she could basically budget her time. And she knew like what she could, what she could take up in, or was she really that busy? Or she owns
yeah.
multiple businesses too, just by coincidence. But a lot of my clients are successful people, they are
Mhm.
smart people, but impulsive spending can really be a problem. What do you deal with that with your clients, the impulsive spending?
Yes. So most of the people I work with, they make good money, but they're not building wealth. So when I say they're not building wealth, I mean that usually they're overspending, and that's where the impulsivity comes in.
Mm.
They sometimes find themselves stuck in a credit card debt cycle that they think they can't get out of until I come along and help them out of it.
Mm,
And they are not saving like they want to. In
right.
turn, they're investing, but usually it's like the bare minimum. They're not going all out, or they're not maximizing their investment. So when
Mm,
I say building wealth, I mean really holistically taking control of all of that. And one of the things that prevents people from doing that is the overspending and the impulse spending. And so,
mm,
yes, I work with that. That was my problem. My husband and I, we made really good money, but I love to spend. That's what I used to tell myself. I just love to shop. I just love to spend. And it was just too much. We ended up in over $200,000 worth of debt. And that's when I figured out, like, okay, I had to do something, but I didn't want to go like on this really strict budget and do what all the other personal finance gurus tell you need to do, like
right.
give up your lattes and stop going out to dinner and giving up your vacations. I just didn't want to have to do any of that. And that kind of made me think like, well, why do I have to do all of those things? Why can't I figure this out? And that's when I came up with something called the do both method, which is build wealth and enjoy life at the same time.
And I want to talk about that, but I want to tell you a little bit of a crazy story. So, my husband and I were in $90,000 in debt. And I just got to the point where anything that I purchased, I started to resent it.
Mm.
And what I did, and so this was all my crazy idea, as I thought, if we bought a trailer, like I'm talking something you pull behind a car, like if we bought a trailer and sold everything, we could live in this trailer and pay off our debt. And that's what we did. And it didn't take it hardly any time at all. And we moved it into his parents' backyard. And my oldest son got to, hang out with grandpa and do stuff like that. So I was like on the other spectrum. Like I probably needed you at that time to say, no, you don't got to go that crazy. But I'm also very glad I did it because it allowed us an opportunity later in life to purchase a business that
Mm.
was turnkey and so it just built wealth by making that sacrifice. But I want to hear your method. So how can we do both?
Yes. And listen, I think there are multiple ways to do multiple things, right? And so some people do, do things like you did and it lasts. Like it is sustainable and they can make it work and then they get out of debt and they stay out of debt.
Mhm.
And other people, they might do something like that and find themselves right back in it. So
Mhm.
I think everyone has to find a way that just works for them. And so my way is number one is just figuring out what does it mean for you to enjoy life. I think the problem is that a lot of us just tell ourselves, I just want to be able to spend what I want when I want on whatever I want.
I hear that
And
all the time. Yeah.
yeah, right. Especially, you feel like I work hard, I deserve it. Some of us may have grown up with not a lot of money and we made, pacts with ourselves that we were going to just, make a lot of money so we can just buy whatever we want when we're an adult. And then we're an adult and it's just like, oh, there's still this, you know, issue where you have bills and you still want to be able to spend. So I help my clients just get really clear on what's most important and making sure they understand that spending on any and everything without regards to your finances is not enjoying life. That's just not actually,
Yeah.
that's the easiest way to not enjoy life. I'm a witness to that
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're just giving into that instant gratification, that impulsivity. But when it comes down to it, you're always stressed about money, you're always worried about money. So the first thing we really need to do is just get clear on what's important to you.
Mm, okay. And
Yeah.
then I'm still intrigued with this, like, do both. So
Yes.
by figuring out what's important to them, those
Yes.
are the priorities as far as the money
Yes.
spending. And then those other things, it gets rid of all the unnecessary spending, I assume.
Exactly. So typically, when I do this exercise with people, they find like five things. Usually, family happiness is on there, travel or adventure, sometimes personal development or generosity, those kinds of things are there. But what's always there and always underfunded? It's financial security.
Mm,
Everyone always says that their financial security is one of the things they value most. But when we really peel back the layers, that is the one thing that they're not spending their money on, or they're not using their money to create financial security. And so that is a big aha moment because it's
yeah.
always, I've never done this exercise with anyone where that's not on the list. It's always on the list and it's always usually underfunded.
Underfunded meaning they're not investing, they're not
They're
saving, that
not
kind of thing.
investing, they're in debt, they're barely saving, those kinds of things.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So I see a lot of like keeping up with the Joneses, right?
Mhm.
People are buying the nice cars in order because the neighbor has the nice car. They're, buying a suit for a certain neighborhood, just because their friend has a house in that neighborhood or, that kind of thing. What do you find that in your work?
You know what? I find that keeping up with the Joneses has always been an issue, but I think in today's age, it's so much more prevalent because of social media. So the Joneses back in the day, they were just across the street and you really only saw them when you looked outside.
Yeah.
But social media, oh my gosh, a lot of us are on it a lot. We're scrolling, if we're using it for personal reasons or business reasons, we're on, and we see people posting things that look amazing. And usually it's like their best, and you're comparing it to your, regular life. And sometimes that can make us, want to go out and spend some money to get there. So yeah, I totally see that.
What kind of things I know when I was getting out of debt, I would like kind of play games with myself. Like, can I go on a no spend spree for like a week or two? Or how long can I not spend and things like that? Do you find like things like that work for your clients?
No, they don't typically because so that's kind of like I like to use that for a lot of people. It's like going on a strict diet
Mm,
where it's like, how much weight can I lose in like 2 weeks for this vacation? Like you'll lose the weight, you'll make the progress, but is it sustainable? And so, yes, you can do the no spend challenges. There's nothing wrong with doing any of those. But if you really want long term sustainability, then I like to make it just part of your lifestyle. So going back to the do both method, you figure out what's most important to you so you can spend money on those things and then literally just say, I'm no longer spending money on other things, especially things like, I'm bored. Let me just scroll and buy something. Or, one of the things I notice is that a lot of us use our money to make ourselves feel better. So we buy
yeah.
things to make
Mhm.
ourselves feel better, to get that dopamine hit.
That
That
was my biggest realization.
Yes, and that's
Yeah.
not our money's job. Like it is not our money's job to make us feel better. That's an inside job. And whenever we're relying on our money for that, that's when we also, find ourselves overspending. And so I help them to really reel that in, and then to also have some financial goals that they want to work on. So
Mm.
for some people, it's I just need to get out of this credit card debt because they're paying like thousands of dollars a month in payments, and they just want to be done. So that could be our first milestone. Is just starting to pick off the debts. I highly recommend debt snowballs. I can
Yes.
explain that if you want me to.
I know what
And
that
then
means, but yes, please explain.
Okay, so a debt snowball is, and this is a way you can gamify, right? You take
Mhm.
all your debts, you list them out from the smallest debt to the largest debt, and you continue to make your minimum payments on all of them. So you can, stay in good standing with all of them. And then any extra money. So if you're working with me, usually you're going to have you're going to have like a bucket for your household accounts. You're going to have some spending money. I call that bucket number 2. And then bucket number 3 is your savings. So within your household account, any extra money you have there, you throw it on the smallest one until it's gone. And then
Mhm.
once that one's gone, you go to the next one. And it's like you're like rolling a snowball down the hill kind of with your debt.
And tell me more about your buckets because that sounds like my mind goes to, well, isn't that a budget? But how is it different?
I call it a spending plan. I mean, because it's a
Okay.
plan for your money. It's just not a strict budget. We don't want to put ourselves on a strict budget because I think that they backfire and they usually don't work long term. And
Mm.
so instead of doing a bunch of tracking and having to try to keep track of everything, I like to help my clients to really compartmentalize and say, okay, this is how much I need to run my household, to run my life, to pay all of my bills, to make sure there's food on the table, transportation, and a little cushion just in case I forgot something.
Yeah.
So that's bucket number 1. And I like to put that in a whole other account so that we're not commingling things. And then bucket number 2 is just your spending money. I think everybody should have a certain amount of money that they can just do whatever they want with throughout the month. You definitely want to put a limit on it as far as how much that is. That's the
Mhm.
boundary. But what you spend it on, you get to decide. And then the third bucket is your savings, where you have your life happens fund. I call it a life happens fund. So if you have an unexpected or an unplanned expense, you have money there. That's the where you let the money pile up like in a high yield savings account. And then you can also have things like sinking funds in that account where you are saving for travel or saving for other things that are
When
meaningful to you.
when you say sinking, what do you mean by that?
So a sinking fund is like a mini savings account. Are you
Okay.
familiar with Ally Bank?
No, no.
Okay, it's ALLY. I love them. They offer a high yield savings account that's right now, of course, it's a variable rate, but right now they pay 4% on your savings. Most banks are paying 0.01%.
Oh my goodness.
And I know, right? This is just on your savings that's sitting there. But they let you divide your money into buckets so you can have like a travel fund, a holiday fund. It's still one account, but you get to kind of like
I'm
divide your
loving
money
this.
into like little file
Yeah.
cabinets. It's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually think I heard an ADHD money person talk about this. I just didn't go forward with it, but I think I'm definitely going to do that. Having your own money to spend on anything you want. As soon as my husband and I got excuse me, let me pause. As soon as my husband and I got out of debt, we started having our own money. And
Yeah.
so we set up two different bank accounts and whatever it was a very small amount at first that would just
Hmm.
automatically go in there every month. And then after, you know, we were making more money, we started making that bigger and bigger. And I have no idea what's in his account. He has no idea what's in my account. And we can spend it on anything. And there's
Yep.
no discussion. Like if he wants to buy a new Xbox or whatever, there's no discussion about it. And
Yes.
so I think that's very, very important. But also, I think for my audience, having the separate accounts, and then did you say it was called Ally, where you could just have
So
one
yeah, for
account
your
that
yes, so for
aside?
the savings, yes. So
Yeah,
for your liquid, easy to access. So this is money outside of investments.
yeah.
Yeah, it's Ally Bank. ALLY.
Gonna definitely check that out. Love that. What do you think, as ADHD professionals and entrepreneurs, what would be your best advice about money?
Yes, I think the three bucket system is amazing because it once you've set it, you want to check in on it every single month, but it's not something where you're doing a bunch of tracking. I remember when I was in my money woes, it was always like in the back of my mind because we had pretty much all of our money in one account and my husband and I both were using it. We were paying all of our bills out of it. I always was just thinking about money like, "Ugh, I just swiped. Did I overspend? Right? And
Right.
will the mortgage check clear now? Is my husband swiping too much? So when you just separate it out, like, okay, this is my household money. I'm going to put enough in here to make sure all of my household items are taken care of. I don't have to worry about overspending in this account because I'm not spending any money out of it. Neither is my spouse if I'm married. And you have a little extra in there just in case. And then you have the freedom just to like spend money out of your spending account however you want. And then you
Mhm.
know you're saving as well. So it's just like,
Yeah.
it just takes the edge off of stressing and thinking about money all the time.
Well, I know one thing that my clients have a big challenge with often is looking at their numbers. And this almost sounds like a set it and forget it. Like once you've looked at your numbers, you've looked at your expenses and decided, okay, what's my electric, what's my housing, that kind of thing. It sounds like unless your bills start to go up, there's not that checking in as much.
So I recommend that you have a date with your money once a month. So only once a month are you looking at it. So I don't want you to set it and forget it. I want you to set it and check back in next month.
Okay.
Because I want
My
you to be intimately involved with your money, to be looking at it, watching it grow, keeping up with your spending. Like even though you can spend however the money however you want to in your spending account, you might want to, pile it up for a couple months so you can go on a big shopping spree, right? So you also want to just keep an eye out on, okay, how am I spending? Do I really want to be spending this much here? You know what I mean? So you do want to sit down and look at it once a month.
Once a month. I love that because
Yeah.
I have clients that have tried to do it every day and they really struggle or they stress. And so that's nice. And plus, like I said, if any of your bills go up or anything like that, you'll
Yes.
know.
You'll need to readjust. Exactly. You'll know. And also you just want to give yourself that gift of just being intimately familiar and involved with your numbers for sure.
Well, and I explain to people like you have a relationship with your money as though it's a
Hmm.
person. And
Yes.
how do you want to be treating that person? Are you ignoring them? Are you, not spending time with them? Are you spending way too much time
And
or, that kind
stalking.
of thing? Exactly.
So one of the things too, I think that causes people not to want to look at their money is because how they're going to talk to themselves about it. Right.
Exactly.
So they're like, I don't want to look because I know overspend and you're going to probably beat yourself up and feel guilt and shame. And especially when you're first starting, I think to really approach looking at your finances like a scientist with curiosity and
Mhm.
looking at it just like data, like, oh, this is how much I've been spending. This is why it feels like I don't have a lot of money because I'm spending a lot of it here. But we're doing it from a place of curiosity and not judgment, right? We're just
Yeah.
trying to get a baseline of what's happening so that we can make different decisions moving forward if we want to.
Instead of meaning it makes something bad about yourself or that you're
Yes.
an irresponsible person, we can just
Hmm.
make different decisions going forward. I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that. I was just getting coached the other day on self-love, and this just kind of relates to this conversation a little bit because that's what you're doing is you're loving yourself. And I was really kind of confused about it. And I'm like, I've done a lot of research. I don't understand what self-love is. And she's like, you just get to decide. You just get to decide what it is. And the way this relates is you can just decide not to beat yourself up. You can
Hmm.
decide that all your past decisions that might not have been the best financial decisions don't mean anything about you, that you
Yeah.
can change it. So,
You can literally tell yourself, I did the best I could with what I knew at the time.
mhm.
And and if you are like on this new journey, I mean, it's just like, and I'm going up from here and I'm changing things from here, but I just need to take a peek back so that I can move forward and move forward with knowledge and not just guessing.
Yeah, exactly. So, what have we not talked about that you think's important here?
I think we've covered quite a bit. I have little notes here, and I think we've covered quite a bit. I think the one thing I would offer your audience, this is a tip that has saved me probably tens of thousands of dollars in impulse spending, and it's the sleep on it rule.
Mm,
This is when you have the urge to buy something impulsively. Literally, you didn't even know it existed 5 minutes ago, and now you want it.
yeah.
That is the time to say, you know what? I'm not telling myself no because I do have, if you're following my strategies of the three bucket rule or the three bucket system, then you have the money, right? But just because you have the money doesn't mean you want to impulsively spend it. One of my clients, when we first started working together and she set up her her spending account, she was like, yeah, I spent it all in 1 week. And I'm like, okay, that's not what we wanted to do because you have a whole month. And so we coached
Yeah.
on it. Like, even though you have this money available to you, like, you still don't want to just blow through it. You want it to last at least the 30
Yeah.
days. And so the sleep on it rule is the perfect way because typically when you are seeing something you want it right now, that's your primitive that impulsive part of your brain at work. And when you say pause, I'm not telling myself no, I'm just saying I'm going to sleep on it before I decide. So you're putting a pause between the desire to have the thing and the decision to actually
Mhm.
buy the thing. Then that gives your higher self, your prefrontal cortex, an opportunity to get back in charge and make the decision then. And literally, like, whenever I do this, 95% of the time, I don't go back and buy the thing that I thought I just needed in the moment.
Well, and we talked about this earlier, but I think it's worth reiterating. Like you're buying a feeling. You're
Mm-hmm.
buying a
Yep.
dopamine hit. You think you're buying a top that you think is going to make you feel a certain way. You're buying a car that you think is going to make you feel a certain way. Like all these things are just feelings that you're buying. And if you just understand that, it gets rid of so much of the impulsive spending because you're like,
Yes.
okay, it's been proven over and over again that it doesn't actually get me the feeling very long. It's very
No,
short-lived.
very short lived. And most of the time, there's a negative consequence associated with that
Mhm, mhm.
decision that you have to contend with on the back end. And really helping people see that is powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, how are you going to feel about that thing later? Like I had said,
Yeah.
when I had the debt, I resented everything.
Hmm.
And just that's why I sold it because I'm like, this is just causing me unhappiness. It was funny because the only thing my husband and I would fight about was money.
Yes.
And once we got rid of the debt, it was like, oh, we almost don't have any problems. I mean, of course,
Hmm.
everybody has their ups and downs, right? But it can be a huge thing. So yeah, how
Well,
can
I think there's a stat that says, I don't know it off the top of my head, but like money issues are usually the number one cause of divorce.
I can imagine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
And
and
the and
go ahead.
I was the one handling the money. And what would happen is he was making money at the time. And he would come home with a check and I'm like, it's gone. And he
Mm,
just could not fathom. He's like, I don't understand. I just got paid. And I'm like, you already spent it. And I say
mm,
you, we had already spent it. It was gone.
mm.
And so, like, really getting this under control can just bring a lot of happiness. And I love your method as far as like deciding on the things that are important to you. I think I'm really going to take that into consideration. I think I have to some degree, but also your bucket system. Do you have this like laid out anywhere, or do people hire you to figure this out, or
Yeah,
how do
so
people
I
find you?
so yes, I have a podcast. It's called The Wealthy Woman's Podcast, and I talk all money all day, right? I have over 100 episodes, so if you're really interested in learning more, you can go there. I also have a program that's called the Wealthy Woman's Academy, and that's where I work with you personally to really set up all of this and to not only get it set up, but to maintain it and just really rewire your brain from all of the impulsive spending. And, you know, we've trained ourselves to not have money. We've trained ourselves to make money and spend it. And
Mm,
so it's almost like you need to rewire your brain to say, okay, I'm going to make money, I'm going to spend some of it, and I'm going to build wealth with the rest of it.
yeah.
So I really help with all of that and to make it just a lifestyle, not just like this, quick hit thing. We want to make it just who you are as a person. And so I do have a free training that a lot of people love. It's called How to Build Wealth Without Going on a Strict Budget. And your listeners are welcome to it. They can find it at germainefoley.com/wealth class. And that's Germaine with a G.
Okay. And just some advice as far as like you're going to rebrand your podcast. Can
Yes.
people search your name and will they still find it? Like is your
Oh,
name in the
yes, for
description?
sure. For
Okay.
sure. Yeah. So if you're listening to this and it's beyond 2025 or like the beginning of 2025, the podcast name will be slightly different. It's going to be Becoming the Wealthy You.
I love
Because, and
that.
I'll tell you why I'm doing this, because I've had several people tell me, oh my gosh, I didn't know your podcast was for me because I don't consider myself wealthy. Because right now it's called the Wealthy Woman's Podcast, but it's not about being wealthy, it's about becoming wealthy. And so that's why I'm going to rebrand it.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. Well, you're doing good work. I
Thank
appreciate you
you.
coming on and I've learned so much today. I
You're
know my
so
listeners have
welcome.
too.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Thank you
Okay.
for having me.
Thank you.